C-SPAN's local content vehicles are traveling the country, visiting communities and congressional districts as we look at some of the most closely contested House races leading up to this November's midterm elections.
First and foremost is the idea that right now we have to have a bold agenda for American jobs. And a lot of what I've spent the last year and a half doing is trying to get Washington, and frankly both parties, to be a little more focused on building things, making things, and growing things in America again, instead of what I felt both parties were focused on before, which is if we just help the banks and the financial sector enough, then everything will trickle down to the rest.
The candidates that are running in the Virginia's 5th District race are Tom Perriello, a freshman Democrat who was elected in the wave of victories during Obama's victory in 2008. Against Perriello is challenger Robert Hurt, a Republican state senator from Chatham, Virginia, which is in the southern part of the district, and Jeff Clark, a Tea Party member and independent businessman from the Danville area. The Virginia 5th District race is getting a lot of national attention, I think because Republicans see Perriello as one of, if not the most vulnerable Democrats in Congress, given that he represents a somewhat conservative district and that he's voted in favor of Obama's major initiatives, healthcare, cap and trade, stimulus, and so on. And because 2 years ago he was elected by the smallest margin of any congressional race in the country. So they think that the Republicans are seeing this as a pickup, but Democrats, on the other hand, however, say that Tom Perriello's a fighter, that he's a very tough campaigner, and that because he supported those same initiatives, that he's getting the support of national Democrats just as national Republicans are trying to take him down. In 2008, Perriello, who's a young lawyer from the Charlottesville area, he challenged Virgil H. Goode, who is a 6-term conservative Republican, and beat him by 727 votes. This was the closest margin of any race that year in Congress. Some people say that Perriello just rode in on the Obama wave, but in fact, while certainly that was a factor, the Virginia 5th District is fairly conservative leaning, and actually McCain won it with 50.6% of the vote that year. So it's traditionally a Republican stronghold. I think it's maybe become somewhat less so, but it is still a conservative leaning district that is represented by a Democrat. Virginia's 5th District is the size of New Jersey, and it essentially is a triangle shape with the Charlottesville region, which is the home to the University of Virginia, and in Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home, down to Southside Virginia, the North Carolina border. It includes, which includes the cities of Martinsville and Danville and part of Lynchburg. The economy has hit part of the 5th District fairly hard. Martinsville, for example, a city in Southside, has been hit extremely hard. Their unemployment tops 20%. It's bad, but not quite as bad as elsewhere in the district. There's unemployment continues to be a problem throughout the district. There's been a number of foreclosures, obviously, like everywhere. People who have their jobs their pay has stagnated for the last few years. So it's certainly a big problem here. Tom Perriello is certainly a moderate Democrat, whereas on some of the big ticket priorities of President Obama and the Democrats, he's voted in favor. He voted in favor of things like healthcare reform. He voted in favor of the cap and trade clean energy bill. He voted in favor of the economic stimulus bill. So some people say he's a liberal Democrat because he's supported the big ticket items, but on the other hand, he has broken with his party in some cases. For example, he doesn't believe that the assault weapons ban should be re-implemented. He's a strong believer in Second Amendment rights. He voted against both of President Obama's budgets because he felt like they didn't go far enough in curtailing the federal deficit. Robert Hurt is more of a traditional conservative. He's been in Virginia's General Assembly for a number of years. He has been endorsed by the Family Foundation, the NRA, all of the conservative-leaning groups. Big part of his message in this run for Congress is the federal government spending is out of control, in his view, that government regulations have gotten too onerous, and that if he was to be elected, he would be working for lower tax burdens for businesses and individuals. In the legislature, his record, however, has also been fairly mixed. While he has been a hard R in the legislature, he did break with his party in 2004 and voted for a $1.4 billion tax increase to balance the state's budget. And he took a lot of heat for that at the time and during the Republican primary this year as well. Jeff Clark running against not only the Democrat Perriello, which embodies the biggest concerns that he talks about, the federal government, what he views as creeping socialism taking over the country. He also has to run against Robert Hurt, who is an establishment Republican who served in the legislature for a number of years. Jeff Clark has struggled to have his voice heard. Robert Hurt doesn't want to allow him into the debates. And so while they're still working all that out, whether or not that he'll be included in any of the candidate forums from now on or not, it's difficult for him. The only poll that's come out in the general election showed that Perriello is down by 20-some points, and that the Republican Robert Hurt has a sizable lead. However, that same poll 2 years ago showed Perriello down by 30-some points, and he came back to win it. So if there's anything that we know in the 5th, it's that things can change quickly, and that it might be more competitive than it appears.